Hi, so my name is Mary. Um, I had my surgery April 11th, 2014. Um, I had the sleeve. It was a difficult thing for me to do. My deciding factor was when I found out that my biological father passed away from an enlarged heart. Um, I was told that it it wouldn't have been prevented, but it could have been prolonged if he had lost weight and taken better care of himself. Um, so, I mean, I had already decided to do it before that, but then I had some issues with my ex-husband, and I left, and then I came back, and we kind of refixed things for a little while. I got my surgery, and things kind of went downhill from there. Now, this video is not just a story, I promise. It's kind of I'm kind of trying to lay the groundwork to explain to you what's going on. You'll understand in a little bit if you hold on. Anyway, so we separated because he wasn't attracted to me anymore, which I thought was funny because he wasn't attracted to me when I was larger either. So let's see. My highest weight was 314 pounds. My surgery weight was 278. Now my lowest weight was 195. I hit a very long plateau after I left my ex-husband. I moved to North Carolina, he was in Texas, and I was pretty well stuck in the 220s throughout the majority of that separation. We were separated for a little over a year. When I finally got sick and tired of waiting for him to file for divorce, I went back to Texas and I met a man who is an amazing man who is now my husband. Call me what you want, doesn't matter. It was 2 years ago, I really don't care. Anyway, so I got my divorce and he and I got married. Well, before we got married, we found out that we were pregnant. Yay for us. It had been a year since I'd had my surgery. A little over a year, actually. My surgery was in April. We found out we were pregnant in May. And in June, we found out that pregnant was an ectopic pregnancy. Now, an ectopic pregnancy is where the egg implants itself somewhere else besides the uterus. It can implant itself in the ovary itself, in the tubes, in the area right outside the tubes, and down by the cervix, and on the cervix. Those are the areas that seem to get affected the most when this happens. For me, it was in the tube. I ruptured while they were trying to remove the embryo, and because I had lost so much weight, there was nothing holding my fat and my muscles together. There was nothing but like an empty gap. Because of that, they couldn't remove it laparoscopically. They had to go and kind of like a C-section where they cut you right at the pelvic bone, and they had to go in that way and remove the tube that way. It wasn't salvageable. There was just no rhyme or reason to it. So I was on bed rest for 2 months, and then low impact, and very limited low impact for 4 months. Around the time that I was able to actually exercise again, within moderation of course, we were pregnant again. Another amazing moment. And because I had a history of ectopic pregnancies by this point, they pretty much, it was Thanksgiving Day, they made me go into the ER, and they started looking for the egg, the embryo. They started looking for it, and they couldn't find it. I didn't have a very high HCG, so in my mind I was still hopeful that it was just too early for them to find it. So I pushed forward and forward and forward, and January 5th, well actually December 3rd, 2 days after my birthday, they found it, and it was in my tube again, but it was in the only tube I had left. They gave me medicine to try and kill the embryo. It didn't work. 3 days later, they gave me more medicine to kill the embryo, and I was again put on bed rest because they were trying very hard for the embryo to die without my and allow my body to reabsorb it without removing my or touching my one tube that was left. Well, that didn't work. January 5th, I was rushed to the emergency room again because my final tube ruptured, and it was a repeat following. Well, by this point I was severely depressed. I was very upset. I was eating my emotions, and the weight started to come back. By this point, the first ectopic I was 195, second ectopic I was 205, and about a month after my second ectopic I was 225 again. It has gone up, not very much since then. It's been a little over 2 years, I guess a year and a half, 2 years now, since that second ectopic happened. And I am currently at 243 as of this morning. So in that time, like I said, I got very depressed. I was going to therapy for the depression, for grief therapy, because I had lost 2 babies 6 months apart, which is a very hard thing to do. And then to finally have it realized that you're never going to have another baby, you're never going to get pregnant again accidentally, you might never get pregnant again in general, was a very hard thing for me. It's still hard. It's still hard for me to deal with. As you can see, I'm starting to get red. Anyway, so for obvious reasons, it was a very difficult time for me. And my husband, of course, he was struggling through it too with me. He was very supportive in everything that we were going through. But, you know, I feel like it did hit me harder, and if anybody has any questions about that, then feel free to leave a comment and I can explain it to you, but I'm not going to do it right now because that's not the point of this video. So what happened was we moved from El Paso, Texas to Hawaii, and we spent a year there. While we were there, my husband was getting out of the military, and we moved from Hawaii to here. Well, while we were in Hawaii, we decided to do an IVF. And for those of you who don't know what IVF is in vitro fertilization, where they take my egg and his sperm, put it in a petri dish, and then they insert it inside of me, and hopefully one of them sticks. Well, when I was doing the IVF, I was 230 pounds, roughly 230, 235, depending on the time of the month. And it didn't work, obviously. It didn't work. I'm not pregnant, because this past April. So, then from, that hit me hard. We tried to take it as a blessing, saying that we're moving, so we can't really handle a baby right now. But it was a difficult thing for me to do. It still sucks, but we're working through it. I gained a little bit more weight after that, obviously, considering that I'm almost 245 now. You can definitely see it in my face. And here. I don't hide it very well when I sit down. When I stand up, it's different. But anyway, so through yesterday, I kind of had an aha moment. And if you've made it this far, congratulations. Now you get to understand why I explained all of that. Over the last 3.5 years, because it's been 3.5 years since my surgery, since I got the gastric sleeve, I have blamed everybody for my regain except for myself. I blamed God because for a year out of those 3.5 years I was on bed rest. I blamed my depression because I never had the energy to do anything. I blamed my doctors because they were incompetent, or they didn't understand what I was going through, or they didn't care. I blamed my husband's poor eating habits. I blamed him because I wasn't allowing myself to eat the way that I should have been eating, because I had to feed him. And it's there, and you know, why not eat it? Because it's there. I blamed my emotions because, you know, I'm an emotional eater, and I admit to that. I'm a binge eater as well. If I don't have something and all of a sudden I find it, I will eat it all, even if it's uncomfortable. I blamed the move. I blamed the fact that I never had access to an oven while I was moving. For my poor eating choices, we always had to eat out, but never once, you know, and I blamed my stomach too, because I never had the restrictions that a lot of people say they get when they have the surgery. I can eat whatever I want, and a lot of people are very jealous of that fact, and honestly, I'm more jealous of them because they have that restriction and I don't. The only difference between me now and me before surgery is that now it takes me longer to eat what I need to eat. Well, not even need, what I want to eat. I need to learn the difference between want and need. That seems to be a big issue for me. Never once in the 2 years that I've been dealing with my regain have I ever blamed myself. I've never blamed myself for not going to the gym. I never blamed myself for buying the food that I knew I shouldn't be buying. I never blamed myself for eating the things that I know I shouldn't be eating. I never blamed myself for trying to take better care of myself. I never blamed myself for any of the things that were my fault. I would rather blame somebody else, saying it's their fault that I'm this way, than just stop and look in the mirror and say, no, this is what you did. You did this to yourself. You are the reason that you're unhappy. You're the reason that you regained your weight. You are the reason that your life isn't where you wanted it to be. And it was a very, very hard moment for me to realize that yesterday. Today is my day 0. Today is my final day of drinking the sodas, eating the sweets, not portion controlling, not meal planning properly, because I already meal plan, but I don't do it very well. A lot of what I cook is fattening, has a lot of carbs, because my husband is a bodybuilder to a point, and he needs a lot of carbs, but he also needs a lot of protein, which I need as well. So no, my shirt says do more of what makes you happy. I don't know if it's backwards for you or not, but it's backwards for me looking at my camera, so I'm gonna just say what it says. And honestly, the last 2 years I have not been following what my shirt says. I have not been doing what makes me happy. I have been doing what for temporary purposes makes me feel better, but not happy. Because while I'm eating those Kit Kats, or while I'm eating those Reese's, or while I'm drinking that soda, yeah, I'm kicking my sugar craving, but I'm not fixing anything. I'm making myself worse. I'm making myself sick. I'm making myself gain weight. I'm making myself farther and farther away from the possibility of doing another IVF, because yes, you have to be a certain weight, a certain BMI to be allowed to do it. And I was borderline when I did it the first time. So I blame myself. I do. I blame myself for that IVF not working. I blame myself because I allowed myself to regain that 35 to 40 pounds. I do. I blame myself. My husband, he hasn't said it, but I'm pretty sure he might blame me too. Which I don't begrudge him for if that is the case, because it might have been my fault. It might have been. Who knows? Nobody can know. But like I said, today is day 0. Today is my final day of eating what I want, not what I need. I'm going to start doing one post a day, at least one post a day, kind of documenting what I'm doing, to keep accountability, and we'll see how this goes. So yeah, if you have any questions for me or anything you would like to say, feel free to leave a comment. If you want to keep up with my day-to-day, don't forget to subscribe. Everybody, I hope you guys have a great Sunday, and today is September 17th, 2017.